Sudanese have got one bait smell. There's one, I don't even know. I think it's called sandalwood or something in English.
English.
When I tell you, every Sudanese person in the global world smells of this smell.
Sulaiman, how's your week?
Saadadeen. Yeah, my week was very interesting, bro.
How so?
So I spent most of the week preparing for 2 interviews
Okay.
on Wednesday and Thursday. Like I was in a very blessed position to have 2 interviews.
Like work-related interviews or?
Yeah, work related, like summer internships.
Okay.
In the legal sector.
Mm.
And so yeah, I was preparing for both of the interviews. One was on Wednesday, one was on Thursday. So I did both interviews. They went relatively well. Like after leaving both of the interviews, I felt like I had a decent shot at getting an offer, hopefully. Then I got the call. I got 2 phone calls on Friday. So one of them was from each law firm. So the one I got at 4 p.m. was from the interview I had on Wednesday. And I found out, unfortunately, that I didn't get the offer. And I was quite gutted. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit disappointed. Because I worked really hard for that interview. And then I got a phone call at 4:30 saying I've got the offer for the one I had on Thursday.
Yeah, same
day, like literally right after each other. And it was kind of funny how they happened chronologically, because that's the way I had my interviews as well.
Okay.
But it was just the interesting thing I took away from that experience was how easily your mindset can change and how dependent we are on external factors and influencing our kind of our attitude and our kind of our headspace. And it's like it links to a lot of the theories I've studied about stoicism and about ways in which we should have control over our emotions and not be so dependent on things that are not in our control. It was an interesting week. I took a lot away from it. But yeah, that's enough about me. Saadadeen, how was your week, bro?
This week was the first week, I would say, one of the first times since being here that I had an essay to hand in, and I thought, yeah, do you see this essay here? I'm gonna take it serious. Like I'm gonna try and bang it out. I'm gonna read everything that I need to read, and then just piece it all together and write a coherent argument. So I gave myself like 5 days to write this one piece of writing, and it wasn't that long. It was like maybe under 1,000 words. And as I'm writing it, I'm feeling myself. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna bang. Like I can't wait for my man to read this. And I've read so many books. Like I know what the argument, like exactly what I want to write, everything like that. And then I get the result now. So I hand it in. The person that marks it, he's so efficient. So he will read it at 6 a.m. and then email it to you first thing in the morning.
Wow.
So I'm in bed, yeah, and then I get the like the email notification. And I'm like, alright, you know that rubbing your hands like, okay, let's see. And then I open it,
a little bit and
and I open it, and you don't care about anything other. I just want to see the grade.
Yeah.
And then I get the grade, and it's a 2-2. I worked hard for this, like to put this piece of writing together. Probably as hard or more hard than I've worked for anything bar like the actual exams, yeah. Because these things, they don't count to the final grade. Only the exams count. And I remember thinking like, so I tried harder than I've tried for just about any other essay for that I had to hand in weekly, and I've gotten a lower grade than all of those ones that I've probably done like day before. Quick couple Googles. All right, cool. I can see what kind of argument I need to put here. Let me piece it together. And I just remember thinking like, why did I try that hard if I'm gonna get the lower grade? And then like taking a leaf out of Sulaiman's book, I remember just sort of sitting and letting it soak in and that, and one of the main benefits of me actually trying hard, and one thing I found is that when I'm reading the feedback, I'm actually really trying to take it on board and really trying to see what this person's point of view is, because I put in time. So when you told me, when you're trying to correct it or anything, I want to know exactly what point. You know, that was so. For example, one of the things is that so the first and second paragraph, they kind of contradict. If I didn't work hard on that, I'll be like, all right, cool. I don't like, it's fair enough.
Yeah,
is what
take your point,
your own
like,
argument.
But when I put work, I'm like, what one? Like what sentence?
Yeah.
Do you know what I want? So I want to know exactly what are you talking about.
But the thing is, when you come to like actually then do exams, or when it comes to be tested on, like, then that's the thing you really remember. Like the thing you got wrong, you're like, that's in your head now. Like you've really learnt it, and like in terms of what you actually take away and learn from something.
Yeah.
Like you learn more probably from getting it wrong than you would have from
Yeah.
like just another essay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it came down to this two ways of thinking of it. And Sulaiman mentioned it, like getting by, which is probably what I would have done if I didn't try, or actually learning from the process, like you mentioned. So it's kind of what do you want to get out of it? And I suppose it's always, regardless of the result, it's more important the process. So that was what I took from that sort of mini snippet of my week, man.
Nah, 100%. I hear that.
Yeah.
But I remember as well when I was doing my exams as well, like last summer, the ones I thought I did well in, I got the like worst marks in. The ones I thought I did amazingly in, or the other way around. The ones I thought I flopped, those were my best ones at the end. So yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I don't even know.
That doesn't even make sense.
I don't even know. I actually can't tell you. Like I feel maybe I feel like when you're under pressure, especially in like an academic sense, you want to make like you go to the threadbare details and you really work with it, as opposed to when you feel confident, you just add bare things. Just like
that's so
Did
true.
you know that this guy used to wear the color red?
Literally,
That's
like,
so true.
Like,
It's because you know so much about the overarching topic that you want to let everyone, you want you know so much about the topic that you just want to offload everything you know about it in the essay. But yeah, Mobeen, tell me, bro.
But you veer from your argument. You've stopped arguing things. You just start saying things like
But yeah, how was your week, man?
How was my week? Alhamdulillah, now my week was good. My week was a good. Yeah, I enjoyed this week. So I started this week. I had 2 coursework submissions at the start of the week. I can't lie. Some of the things I was writing, I don't know if even I agreed with it, but it's just by any means. That's what my mum taught me anyway. So like, handed that on Monday. It was a weight off my shoulders. Thursday, so my sister's been working outside of the country. She messaged us in the morning to say, "Oh, can like everyone get together at home? I'm sending a big delivery for you guys as a surprise." I get home and it's herself who is the delivery on some like family cuteness and this and that.
That's very cute.
So it was nice. Friday, I took an L as well actually. Tell her like, I took a big L.
Please share.
So
it'll make me feel better.
So imagine I'm doing a master's at the moment. Half my master's is like modules. The other half is a dissertation. So a whole half of this whole thing that I'm doing, I'm paying for and everything. Apparently, I was meant to tell them what I want to do for my dissertation, which is that half, on Monday. I found out about this on Thursday. So Thursday was the night that my sister was now here as well. So Friday morning, I had to wake up and be like, well, dissertation. Let's like, where do we go from here? So it was one of them last minute, just like put something together, send it off type situations. But yeah.
But do you have time later on to adjust it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank God for that.
I'm hoping at least anyway. That's my hope. But yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. All right. So Mobeen, becoming. Let's talk about some early memories, man. What comes to mind?
It's Tesco's. Honestly, I can't like.
Bro, I can relate to that.
I don't know why. I just remember being in like I don't know if I was in a baby seat or something in one red car, looking at like the window of what the high building that I now associate with Tesco's. So like the capitalism thing was winning from day one. But yeah, no. So I was born in Southwest London. Okay. So I went to school like in Twickenham or like near Twickenham. But at the same time, every summer we would go to Sudan for the whole like summer holidays and stuff. So like I would say my earliest memories are like probably like nursery and just my mum and dad like walking in and stuff. And then also just like my uncles and aunties in Sudan and stuff. And like, yeah.
I relate to your point about Tesco because for me, like I never went on my first holiday or trip abroad until I was 17. So up until 17, Tesco's was basically like going global because every aisle was something different. Like I used to chill in the DVD section for long, but I used to love Tesco, man. Everything was happening in Tesco.
Did your mom ever let you my mum would do this thing. She'd let me go to Tesco's and then buy the sandwich, eat the sandwich, but keep the wrapper, and then I have to pay for it in the checkout.
I used to go in there and eat
excited.
everything. And
Yeah.
Trust me, I used to do that as well.
Very exciting, but
I remember supermarkets just getting lost in them, man, and just being shook.
Did you ever have to like come to the side and they call your mum on the loudspeaker?
I remember my parents always saying like, if you get lost, don't move in it. But I used to be, that's too hard. Like, cause it's easier to find. But I was like, nah, bun that. I'm looking for you.
I'm moving.
Yeah, and you kind of develop, because it happened to me so many times. I develop like strategies. It's like, alright, cool. Do I snake around all the aisles, or do I just run past all the aisles and then just look?
Yeah. So if you're in the middle aisle and you're looking both ways, and yeah.
You know what? This is so funny. When I was 5 years old, or 5 or 6, I got lost in King Street, Southall. I was in Dixie Chicken with my family, but then I think they left. I don't know why they left me, but like they left me or I left them. Something happened. I got lost in King Street, and then my mum wasn't there, innit? And my brother wasn't there, so I had to get the E5 back home.
No,
and
but
because
how old were you?
I was okay, maybe 5 or 6 is pushing it. Like definitely under 9, definitely under 8. Like, so it was my first time on the bus by myself.
Damn.
And I got the E5 back to my house, knocked on my neighbour's door. I was like, I think I was crying, bro. I can't lie. And I was like, I'm lost. I know my mum's number by heart. Let me call her right now. But my mum found the policeman. They came back to the house because I gave them a call. You know what? I'm starting getting memories.
Thank God.
Oh my God, man.
That's mad that you remembered your number off by heart at that age.
I think did your parents never like advise you to memorize their number quite young?
But not.
Yeah. Also,
not
I think
7 or 8. No.
But when you're young, your memory is so like. I feel like your memory is much stronger when you're small compared to when you're older.
Definitely.
Just starts getting saturated with useless.
Facts.
I still remember to this day the GTA cheat code for weapons. R1, R2, L1, R2, left arm, right up, left arm, right up.
I'm screaming.
Guys, where's my birthday? Where's my birthday?
Sometime.
But you remember GTA codes?
I'm actually dead. Do you know the thing that makes me remember things so much? You know when I smell something, there's some smells that if you tell me in words like, do you remember this, I'll say no. As soon as I smell something, I can see it in front of me. Just literally like,
you know, this is such an interesting topic, and I'm gonna use that to go into an avenue of your life.
Okay.
So in terms of smells, tell me what it smells like to live in a Sudanese household, and then more than that, tell me what does it mean to be Sudanese for you?
Well, it smells like Sudanese have got one bait smell. There's one I don't even know. I think it's called sandalwood or something in English.
English.
When I tell you, every Sudanese person in the global world smells of this smell. It's honestly, you've been to Sudan as well, isn't it?
Sudan. I think the idea of you talking about like the individualization of people here, it's like you do things on your own. You might, if you happen to know your neighbor, like that's you being social. Whereas in Sudan, you'll know like the whole like, oh, what area are you from? Oh, and then you immediately know a couple people from that area, or like you know the family and things like that. And I think that dynamic is the one that translates. It is the most different.
Firstly, I just think it's a more human way to live. Like I think it's just fundamentally more human for you to like, for your life to just not be isolated. Like for you to be like to a degree dependent on other people, just always in contact with other people and stuff. That's better in terms of support systems as well. Like, so one thing that's big is like whenever there's a passing, for example, or a wedding or anything like that, you can fall back on other people a lot. Like your neighbors is to mad degrees. Like for example, so when my mum was telling me how someone in her hometown, when they were getting married, like they must have, so their neighbors and their houses have like one wall between them. Imagine for the wedding, they demolished the wall so they can share the house, so they can receive guests together, and then they put the wall up back after the wedding.
That is mad.
And that's normal. That's not like a big thing. Like that was But no, it's generally like that's
like, we need to deep that for 1 second.
Yeah, that's mad,
bro. Like they'll rearrange their furniture. They'll do it. Like that's the better. Like it's very heartwarming and like But the worst is that it can lead to like a lot of gossiping. That makes you feel, and like a lot of group thinking as well. Like you don't really, I feel like it's very, very, very difficult for you to be there in that type of society and think independently. It's so easy to just like like you can have the same conversation with 5 people and everyone just thinks the same thing, and like it's to the degree where like I say this knowing that you're gonna reply that, and then I'm gonna reply that back to you. Like, so it's it's almost
a
like
dance.
it's a simulation. It's a dance. Yeah, exactly. But and some other stuff as well. And it means that when someone's marginalized,
Yeah.
they're marginalized. That's it. Like they're like
Yeah.
there's certain things you can't be over
Yeah.
there.
In
So,
group, out group kind of.
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's really interesting.
But let's move forward onto like your life in Britain growing up. So you talk about like you had a strong relationship with Sudan, a relationship with your parents, and those are the formed the earliest part of your memories. What about moving on to sort of school? How would you describe yourself then? How do you describe yourself in that setting?
I always see my life in terms of like a before and after moment. So like, I feel like I was just going through the motions of school and stuff. So I'm very fortunate. I had my brother and sister to look up to, and they were always kind of very on top of things at school, and they were really, really good role models in that sense. But they're a bit older than me. So I was kind of just like, I don't know, on autopilot through this life basically until at the start of year 9. So my father, this is about around 2010, my dad got unwell, was really unwell for months and months, and he was like still in hospital until he passed away like towards the end of year 9 basically. That's when I felt like that's when my memories start. Like that's when I feel like I was born almost, like or my conscious life started. And yeah, I just see things in terms of like everything before that experience was kind of just building up to that moment. That moment then put me in front of the world in such a different way, made me confront questions that are completely different to the questions that you ask yourself when you're in year 9 and stuff. But yeah, no, but a big blessing, and I took a lot out of it from that age as well. But like,
What were some of those questions?
just like, I think it was firstly like, this life is urgent. Like this world is going quick. Like, so what are you doing? Like what? And what happens next? Like what's on the other side? Or like, how do like, in terms of living consciously, like what does that look like? Like all these, I didn't have the words for them at that time, but I knew I was asking myself them, and I knew I was kind of I had to go and find my own answers, because at that time, like a lot of the people around me, unless they'd gone through similar situations, it was very, very difficult for them to speak to me about this type of thing and stuff. So like, I think I was very, very, very blessed, because it kind of like God took care of me at that time. I had a lot of good people around me in terms of my family, and in terms of just good voices. So it was never a situation of like too much like distress, but at the same time, it was a very intense experience, I would say.
How did your habits or kind of attitude change in like a more kind of a tangible sense? Like, did you kind of go into school with a different mindset? I don't know, like, do you remember the first day you went into school after that incident? And what was that day like?
Yeah. I remember, man. I remember walking in. Do you know, it's so mad that you say that. I've never thought about it like this. I remember walking in and like just immediately seeing two of my best friends. To this day, I'm so close with them. Proper wanting to take care of me. Like proper just sitting in front of me, like just putting their arm around me and stuff. Like just spending time with me and stuff. And I think one tangible way that it changed for me was like, it took me a long time to proper get accustomed to it, but I started like valuing genuine people so much, like people who really, really have your best interests at heart and like want to support you and stuff. So like I started to warm to people in a different way compared to before, whereas like in school you're kind of more like, you're more trying to just befriend the right crowd of people and stuff. But so I say in terms of the type of people I befriended, that changed a lot. I think I also in a funny way became a lot more grateful. Just like gratitude became an active thing of my life, because we were in a situation where like we just got like things could have been a lot worse in a lot of ways, and it kind of just every time something bad didn't happen, I was like, I thank God that didn't happen. And like I started to become a lot more just like practically conscious of like, oh no, I'm so blessed to have this, and stuff. But yeah,
That's really
I'm interested in hearing like, I don't know, do you guys feel like there was any type of event that or any type of thing that triggered that kind of before and after moment? Or
for me, it was basically I was in year 10, and up and from like year 9 to year 10, I would say I was quite I used to get in trouble a lot at school. Just a standard kind of rebellious kind of phase of adolescence, right? But then I was in not permanent exclusion but social exclusion for 8 weeks. So I was essentially just I had missed lunchtime for 8 weeks. And there was a meeting between my head teacher and my mum, and this was the second time my mum came to meet my head teacher. And my head teacher essentially asked my mum, like she basically said, she kind of compelled my mum to look for another school. She was like, I think it is in your best interest to transfer your son to another school as soon as possible. It's very difficult for us to permanently exclude him for a variety of reasons. So we would much rather you voluntarily leave. So that incident happened. I went back to lesson. My mum stayed to talk to the head of Key Stage 4, which wasn't the headmistress. A little bit after I left. Then when I came back at lunchtime for my social exclusion, the head of Key Stage 4 had a conversation with me and was like to me, Sulaiman, when you left to go back to your lesson, I had a conversation with your mum about the meeting, and she essentially cried to me, and she essentially, like, I had to kind of comfort her because she felt like it was her fault, etc. And that, when she said that to me, things started to change, innit? And I was like, I need to become more mature. And what maturity meant for me was becoming less selfish, because that's how I conceptualize maturity. Someone's mature when they start to have humility and they start to stop thinking about themselves so much. So after that moment, obviously I didn't become an angel, but like I started to do small things like not join in when everyone's messing around and just be a bit more conscious about the way I move. But that's something that comes to my mind.
That's so mad. Like, and you probably like, I'm guessing that your relationship with your mum probably felt different after that incident as well. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Or like, you took it differently. Like,
yeah, it's funny. Like, let me switch the mood of the room. Yeah,
yeah.
But like the way my mum treats me now is bare different to how my mum used to treat me before. Like, cause she values me now. She knows I'm an asset. She knows I'm a tangible asset. So she's looking after me now. But I'm not gonna lie.
We love it.
Mum, you always looked after me. Don't worry.
You mentioned your father's passing and how you saw that as a before and after. Moving on, like, how did that shape and play a part in you moving on to later things, like we're talking sixth form and going into uni and things like that?
Yeah. Interesting. Like, so I think it put me in this situation where like I kind of I knew that like I ultimately needed to get to a point where I emulated all the things that I looked up to in my father, basically. And like I knew, but at the same time, like I was in scenarios where I was kind of half not doing that, half doing that, basically. Like you know, you're in school and loudness and blah blah blah, and you just want to have fun and this and that. So like I constantly had this dialogue in my head of just like, I'm doing this and I know it's wrong, and I know that this is time, like I know that this is like a time marked thing, and like this is gonna run out and I'm gonna have to change soon. So I think I've just like, it was gradually a phase of, and this is much easier said looking back, as I didn't know this at the time, but it was kind of a gradual process of like closing the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, basically, or like what the type of person that I wanted to be was. Like, in practice, that looked like just growing up and like getting closer. Yeah, it's all kind of linked to getting closer to God, and like that was just the incremental process of this and that, and more and more and more. It looked like, I don't know, just looking for different things in friendships. Like I said,
you mentioned the influential role of your brother and sister. Like, what role did they have to play in this journey?
Like, just I learned, like, you see what you said in terms of you want to emulate things from people around you, and like they're just role models, like complete role models in terms of like just like how they took care of my mum, how they treat my mum, like how like they went about school and stuff. So like they both like performed like really well in school and stuff. So that was something I was always looking up to, like kind of academically, like I need to push myself to the best that I can be and stuff. So yeah, as school went on, I kind of, that became more and more of a thing of like, oh yeah, until I got to a point in sixth form where like I was starting to apply to uni and stuff. And like, actually, funnily enough, the one thing that made me want to apply to uni, like to like Oxford, basically, was that I kind of I wanted this to be my kind of the thing that I could give back to my mum. Basically, I could like this would be my way of telling my mum that, okay, look, like since I've never spoken about this like openly, but since we're here, like I wanted it to be my way of telling my mum that, like, look, nothing's changed since then. Things are just as fine as they were before, and like you can have something to smile about. So in terms of sixth form, that's what I was really working hard for. Like I was just working hard to be able to just bring kind of like a sense of things are well-being into the household. But yeah, these were kind of things that I knew in my head more than I would speak about, I'd say.
I'm interested in knowing a bit more about your school before we move on to your university experience. Like, what was Richmond College like? Like, what do you remember about that time?
I love Richmond College, man. Richmond's the funniest too. It's so funny. Like, it's actually it's just so funny. So like, I was in this weird position where because I did IB, so if you don't know, Richmond College is like just a funny college. Like the most notable alumni from Richmond College is like Santan Dave, and Krept. Krept was in when my brother was in ISOC of Richmond College. Krept was there, and then I must have tweeted him one time like, "Oh, my brother says salam." He's like, "Yeah, give him my salam." so that's what Richmond's known for. Like, one day there's a metal detector outside the college. Because like to check that no one's carrying weapons, that type of stuff. But IB was like really well taught. So I was like well taught, but in this just like not academic environment whatsoever. So it looked like going into my lessons, coming out my lessons, and all my friends are just chilling. They're just like, oh, Mobeen, like skip economics. Just you don't need to go. Like, so I was just honestly, like just skip it. Just this, like we're just chilling, like bare just chicken wings on the floor, just like them eating. They're just eating on the floor and stuff. It was like it was so weird. It was like being very well taught, but just in the ghetto. Like, that's what it felt like. But it was good. It was good. I really liked being part of the real world. I hate bubbles. I hate elitism. I hate all of that. So like just to be grounded, but also like have the privilege of being taught well was really good. But yeah, you guys went to local. Yeah, you're not far. Like
I went to the Richmond College Open there. I think we spoke about this. Really, it was hilarious, bro. I thought I was gonna go there because have you seen Coach Carter?
No, I know about it, but I'm
so
not good at films.
They have this chant, like Samuel L. Jackson. It's one of my favorite films.
It's a great film.
And they have a chant, and it goes Richmond.
Oh,
the basketball team. So I remember when I was watching that, I was like, I'm going Richmond. Are you mad? I'm going Richmond. That was like my favorite film. So I was like, I'm 100% going Richmond. I was like, I'm gonna play for the team, and we're gonna do the chant and all of that. But I went.
You know, bro. You know, some people would come to Richmond for the bands. Like they would come. They knew of Richmond as just the popping college. Like that's the college where just people that are just on jokes and stuff.
Interesting. We spoke about gratefulness like at the top of the conversation, and I suppose one way I kind of want to bring it towards the end of the convo is like, what one thing are you grateful for? Like, do you feel like looking back on all of these experiences, the ups and downs?
One thing am I grateful for? I'm grateful that when I really, really needed him, God was there for me. When I really need, like, as in, like, when my back was really against the wall, God came through for me. When I was really like, my school, my academic trajectory was never like, it looks all linear looking back, like, oh, like you did this or you went to uni and stuff. But it wasn't like that. Like it was difficult at every stage. And I am really, really, really grateful that I was given difficulty at a certain age and allowed to grow through it. Like the experience of coming to life and I'm grateful for gratitude itself. Like I'm grateful that I'm able to say thank you for things.
Wicked.
It was amazing to have you on, bro.
That's
like, thank you so much for coming through, man.
Yeah,
big
pleasure. Listen, I got, you know, I've already gassed you lot up so much to your faces.
But you didn't do it in front of the camera.
Which one do I look at? Which one is it? This one? Like the purity of intention that comes across in this, and like you feel comfortable because of it. You feel comfortable that like this doesn't have any pretension attached to it. It's just and like I just pray that goodness comes from goodness, and it just gets bigger and better from here.
Thank you, bro. Like we always say, you're as much as a part of it as we are, and we're learning every step of the way, man.